Hi there, and welcome ladies and gentlemen to another horrific list with me, the Lord of Terror. In today's video, we'll be going over 10 horrific stalkers and some of the shocking things that their victims were forced to go through at the hands of their stalkers. Please bear in mind that this list is not in any particular order, and all events are placed in at random. Each individual incident is shocking in its own way. So, let's get straight into 10 horrific stalkers. Number 10. Shooting the president to impress your celebrity crush. This incident is so ridiculous that it actually sounds like I've made it up myself. I can assure you that I haven't. Unbelievably, this actually happened in 1981 after a man named John Hinckley Jr. enrolled into Yale University with the sole intention of stalking actress Jodie Foster, who was taking a break from acting at the time and studying at Yale University. On March 30th, 1981, John Hinckley Jr. left Jodie Foster a note saying that he was tired of trying to win her love and affection and was going to execute President Ronald Reagan to try and impress her. That same day, Hinckley Jr. drove down to Washington and shot President Reagan and a few of his entourage, including a police officer and a Secret Service member. President Reagan survived the attack, and John Hinckley Jr. was institutionalized rather than imprisoned due to his not guilty by reason of insanity plea. Number 9. The workplace serial killer. In 2002, Colette Dwyer had a difficult time getting police officers to believe her that she was being stalked by a man who she believed to be a serial killer, wanted in connection with a few unsolved murders. The stalker's name was Derek Todd Lee. Lee had gone into Dwyer's workplace and had become obsessed with Dwyer. He visited her workplace constantly and later forced his way into her house and confessed his love for her. Dwyer managed to get the police involved and Lee was put on probation. Dwyer mentioned Lee's name to police in connection with a local murder, but police did not believe Dwyer. In 2003, Lee was questioned over a rape incident. After taking Lee's DNA, police discovered he was actually responsible for the murders of 7 different women. Lee was convicted and was handed a death sentence and still sits on death row to this day. Number 8. The Ellen Page Stalker. Canadian actress Ellen Page, from films such as Inception and Juno, was stalked online for a period of a year by a bizarre individual that wanted her to break up with her partner. The Twitter stalker often left horrifying tweets, confessing his plan to murder Page, saying things such as, "I'm going to murder Ellen Page, she is dead," and "Ellen Page, if you continue to date Alexander, I will kill you in public in the next year, be it in a club, in a restaurant, or when you're signing autographs." These incidents led to Page missing her own movie premiere from fear of what her stalker might do. Her stalker was later caught and ordered by the courts to stay away from Page for a 3-year period. Number 7. The Celebrity Stalker. Robert John Bardo was well known around the celebrity circuit for stalking various different young celebrities. In the early 80s, Bardo found himself obsessed with actress and My Sister Sam star Rebecca Schaeffer. Bardo paid a private investigator to find out where Schaeffer lived, and once he had her address, he went straight over to visit her in her apartment. Schaeffer was startled by the visit, but politely signed an autograph for Bardo. Bardo then left the property and came back later the same day to visit Schaeffer again. Schaeffer then asked Bardo to leave, which infuriated Bardo. He pulled out a gun and shot her in the chest, murdering her before the police and ambulances arrived. Bardo was later arrested after being found wandering in the middle of traffic a short while later, and is now serving life without parole in Ironwood State Prison, California. Number 6. When cyberstalking was not yet a crime. In 1999, cyberstalking was not yet a criminalized act. This incident was the first recorded criminalized event of cyberstalking. The first individual to ever be charged with cyberstalking was a 50-year-old security guard named Gary Della Penta, who had developed an obsession with a younger woman from his church. Della Penta had originally began harassing his victim at church. The harassment became so bad that the church ended up banning him from attendance. When this happened, he decided to take his harassment online. Della Penta fabricated various fake profiles with his victim's photo, name and address, and posted ads online claiming that she fantasized about being raped and wanted random men online to fulfill this fantasy. Della Penta would find men online and give them his victim's address and instructions on how to break into his victim's house, all while he himself pretended to be the victim. During an 8-month period, random men would turn up at this poor woman's house claiming that they were there to fulfill her rape fantasy. The victim did not own a computer and was unaware of all the rape fantasy posts that had been placed online with her name and address. Fortunately, police intervened, and De La Penta was later charged with cyberstalking and sentenced to 6 years in prison. Number 5. The Dancing with the Stars Stalker. In 2009, police arrested stalker Robert O'Ryan, who was obsessed with Shawn Johnson, an Olympic gold-winning gymnast and Dancing with the Stars contestant. O'Ryan had decided to drive from Florida to California to meet Johnson in person while she was filming Dancing with the Stars. O'Ryan then tried to break into the set of Dancing with the Stars and was arrested by police. What was absolutely horrifying is what police found in O'Ryan's car. Police found a loaded shotgun, a loaded handgun, duct tape, and love letters in O'Ryan's trunk. O'Ryan later told police that he could communicate telepathically with certain celebrities and had regularly communicated telepathically with Johnson during the 2008 Beijing Olympics. Number 4. The Model Stalker. Model Courtney Reppert has a very large following online with hundreds of thousands of followers. One of her followers, Luis Plasencia, could not stand Reppert and wanted her to stop doing semi-nude modelling, and began his hate campaign online, mostly through her Facebook page. Plasencia left Reppert messages saying god-awful things such as "I will cut your fucking head off," "I will kill your parents," and that he would kill her if she did not stop modelling. Plasencia even sent her his own CD-ROM, which contained 234 photos of her. Plasencia also leaked her private information, including address and names of family members, online, encouraging others out there to go and visit Reppert. Police later used Plasencia's IP address to track him down to his Chicago home, and he is now awaiting trial for all the wrong things that he's done. Number 3. The Late Night Host Stalker. A woman suffering from schizophrenia named Margaret Mary Ray stalked late-night show host presenter David Letterman for almost a decade. Ray was convinced that Letterman was in fact her husband, and she was arrested various times for breaking into Letterman's home, leaving him strange gifts, and stealing his car and taking it for a joyride. Letterman saw the funny side of all this and often made jokes about Margaret Mary Ray on his show and refused to press charges against her. After coming out of prison for harassing Letterman, Ray then turned her attention onto retired astronaut Story Musgrave and was also incarcerated for harassing Musgrave. Sadly, Ray's mental illness later got the better of her, and she committed suicide in 1998 by kneeling in front of an oncoming train. Number 2. The Coworker Stalker. In April 1984, Richard Farley was a long-serving employee at ESL Incorporated when ESL took on 22-year-old Laura Black. Farley quickly became obsessed with Black and would harass her at work over the next 4 years. Farley sent Black over 200 love letters and regularly turned up at her home, forcing her to move several times over the 4-year period. Black later made a complaint to the Human Resources Department about Farley, and he was then fired. Despite this, the harassment did not stop. Black would then take out a restraining order on Farley. On the 16th of February 1988, a day before a trial date had been set to hear this matter, Farley drove his motorhome into the ESL parking lot. In his possession, he had several guns and over 1,000 rounds of ammunition. Farley murdered his first victim in the parking lot before entering the building with all of his weapons and opened fire on members of staff. Farley shot several employees before going to Black's office and shooting her twice. Farley then had a 5-hour standoff with police before surrendering. Black survived the incident, but sadly 7 employees died that day. Farley was convicted of murder and currently sits on death row. Number 1. The Algebra Teacher Stalker. Student Ming Sen Shui attended Alexander Ramsey High School in Roseville, and what started out as a crush later turned into a sick obsession with his algebra teacher, Mary Stauffer. After finishing high school, Ming would spend 15 years endlessly trying to track down and stalk Mary Stauffer. In 1980, when Stauffer and her 8-year-old daughter had gone to a beauty salon, Ming waited outside the salon and kidnapped both Stauffer and her daughter at gunpoint and placed them in the trunk of his car. Shortly after driving off, Ming pulled over as his victims were making too much noise in the trunk of his car. This attracted the attention of a 6-year-old boy, who Ming also kidnapped and placed in the trunk of his car. Ming then drove to a wildlife refuge and murdered the 6-year-old boy with a metal rod before taking Stauffer and her daughter to his house. The pair were held captive at Ming's house for almost 2 months During this time, Stalker was raped by Ming, and Ming also confessed to Stalker that a lot of his anger stemmed from a poor grade that she had given him in algebra class. Eventually, the pair managed to escape the house and called for help. Ming was then arrested at his workplace. To add to an already horrific incident, during the trial, Ming somehow managed to conceal a knife and smuggle it into the court with him and slash Stalker's face as she testified. Ming was given 40 years for the murder of the 6-year-old boy and an additional 30 years for kidnapping. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know in the comments below your thoughts on the video, or if you've ever had a run-in with a stalker yourself and want to share your story, feel free to do so in the comments. I hope you liked this video, and if you did, please leave a thumbs up and subscribe for more real-life horror.